What's up, y'all? Jared Sandler here with you. It's our Friday edition of the High-5. On Fridays, we're always going to feature a top 5 list. So we got a top 5 list coming for you that actually is a continuation of something we discussed on Wednesday. So our High-5, give you 5 random thoughts, mostly in the sports world, sometimes not. And number 1 here for you on this Friday is actually not a sports one directly. My man Cooper Raiff was the director and lead male actor in the South by Southwest award-winning film S House. It's say the full S word. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say it, so we're just going to say S House, but it is available right now. It came out today thanks to IFC Films. It's available in select theaters, but if you go to my Twitter at Jared Sandler, there's a list of the at-home on-demand services. This won the biggest award in South by Southwest. Even though South by Southwest didn't happen, they still issued awards. And this movie's been getting tremendous reviews. I met Cooper when he was, I think, a freshman in high school, sophomore in high school. I was helping out, coaching some basketball at my alma mater, Green Hill. And Cooper was a really, really good shooter who always made me laugh. And lo and behold, years later, here he is getting ready to crush Hollywood in the entertainment industry. But seriously, this is not like necessarily just a plug for a friend. I mean, this movie won like the big award, got the biggest recognition at South by Southwest. Independent film. The story, the backstory of it is quite crazy. It is your typical like success story. If you reached out to Jay Duplass, they formed a relationship, friendship, a mentorship. Cooper just kind of over the course of spring break got some buddies together, filmed a little bit of a short, and he sent it to some folks, and people like, hey, no, you need to like, let's make this a real thing. They made it a real thing, and bam. You're probably going to see him on, those late night talk shows and stuff soon, promoting it now that it's released. But I recommend checking it out. Cooper Raiff, the movie S House, available today. Again, go to at Jared Sandler on Twitter. You can find the various on-demand options. But if you got Spectrum, DirecTV, Xfinity, Apple TV, YouTube, Google Play, just like an Xbox, it's all there for you. All right, number 2, baseball last night. Let's start with the first game, the Astros and the Rays. Carlos Correa with a walk-off home run. So all the Astros animosity aside, I'll not forget, I'll never forget watching Carlos Correa when he was coming up through the minors. Matter of fact, when I was in Michigan, the Great Falls Voyagers, or excuse me, the Great Lakes Loons, there were, I think it was back-to-back series. We got a chance to see 2 of the top picks in the 2012 draft, Carlos Correa and Byron Buxton. Byron Buxton played for the Cedar Rapids Colonels. Carlos Correa was playing for the Quad Cities River Bandits. And he just looked different. You can see at that level of A-ball, there are guys who just stand out, and he did. And then when he came up in 2015 and we saw him when he played the Rangers, same thing. He looked different. He had a lot of similarities, a lot of mannerisms that were identical to A-Rod. He's a big shortstop, the batting stance that was similar, just the hand placement. And honestly, the production was pretty dang good as well. And not just at the plate, but it seemed like defensively once a game, he'd make a play that just made you go, oh my gosh. And I remember thinking at that point, like, this guy's about to take over like the mantle or the baton for like, the face of Major League Baseball, the shortstop position. There's always that, that shortstop that people kind of, they identify as the guy, or oftentimes. And I was like, this guy's about to be that. It hasn't really been the case because of injuries, whether it's just not being in the lineup or when he's been in the lineup, not being able to consistently produce. But, he's still a special player. Now, this year's regular season, not so good. But the last year hit over 920 in the OPS column. He is the ability when he's healthy, when he's right. He's as good as any of these other shortstops. But I think the frustration with people at Houston is that he's going to be a free agent after next season. And they really haven't experienced him putting it together for not just, I wouldn't say season. I mean, he said 2 seasons in which he's finished with an OPS over 900. And the reality is, since he made his major league debut, including the down years, in 2018 and in 2020, I'd say they're down years. His OPS is still going to be in the mid to high 800s. So, he's been good, but I don't know that he's put together that 2 to 3 year stretch that people would have anticipated, which he's the guy. He's one of two, the best shortstops in baseball, but he's got a chance to be really special if he can stay healthy. He's the type of guy who maybe could have a better post arbitration, post free agency stretch than pre free agency. Sometimes just with the way that, the arbitration works and the CBA is, guys' best years are their years leading up to free agency, just because, sometimes that's their age 27 to 32, 33 seasons. Their post free agency years are out of their physical prime. I think Carlos Correa, who isn't old by any means, he's 26 years old. I think he's a guy whose best production is still going to be after his free agent contract, which will come not this offseason, but next offseason. Not sure if it's going to come with the Houston Astros or not. All right, then in the Astros, the Dodgers Braves game, man, I was just hoping for Clayton Kershaw to dominate. He was so good in his first postseason start. You don't know how much the back was an issue, and he wasn't bad necessarily that last inning. The Braves got to him, and he ended up exiting with nobody out in the 6th inning, and that was the inning in which the Braves really did their damage. But this guy is so amazing. Arguably the best pitcher of his generation, one of the best pitchers of all time. But the one narrative is that he hasn't been able to get it done in the playoffs. And, small sample, coincidence, bad luck, I don't know. Unfortunately, the numbers support that. The numbers support that the playoff success has not been nearly the same caliber. And I just desperately want that to change. And whether that's having that dominant postseason or that signature start in the World Series, and he's had those opportunities, it just hasn't been there. And you wonder how much time he has left to do something like this, because, and not that he's about to retire, he's only 32, but, with all the back stuff, and the back's what kept him out of game 2 and forced him back to game 4. Back stuff's not easy, and his stuff's not the same. He's made a tremendous adjustment, and he's found ways to have success without having that top-notch stuff. I mean, this year, obviously, small sample size, 10 starts, but at a 2.16 ERA, allowed less than 9/10 of a base runner an inning. He was outstanding. But how much of this does he have left in the tank? This is a guy who's led the league in ERA 5 times. He's had multiple times with an ERA over the course of a season of less than 2. It's happened 3 times, including one year in which he didn't win the ERA title in 2016. But it's got to get done in the playoffs, and he just unfortunately has not been able to do that yet. And I was really, really hoping that last night would be, another strong start for him in this postseason, making that 2 in a row. This coming in a quality spot, maybe giving him a chance to pitch in the World Series. Dodgers now going to have to rattle off 3 straight, and it looks like they're just running into a really hot team in the Braves. One random basketball thought as we move away from the 2020 season or the finals. I'm hearing a lot of chatter about the NBA Finals. I want to get a couple of things straight here. One, the Lakers didn't just roll over a vastly inferior team. Now, keep in mind, the Heat were without Goran Dragic most of the series, and when he came back at the end, he just wasn't the same. Bam Adebayo, same sort of thing. But the Heat's roster 3 through the end of the bench is without question better than the Lakers roster 3 through the end of the bench. LeBron and AD are better than Jimmy and Bam, although Jimmy and Bam are a pretty dang good 1-2. But LeBron and AD are, that's one of the best 1-2s, in NBA history, in addition to like you want to go Curry, Durant, if you want to do that. It's LeBron and AD is way better than LeBron and Wade, especially from a versatility standpoint. LeBron and AD carried the Lakers past the Heat, but that was not a team that was greatly inferior. I think that if you've got a healthy Bam and a healthy Goron, this series might go 7. At minimum, the 6 games are all good games as opposed to 4 good games and 2 blowouts. Which leads me to this. I heard someone talk about Jimmy the other day, saying, well, Jimmy's a top 10 player. And I think that you got a little bit of in saying that, you've got I think sometimes we have a tendency to overhype, overrate players after maybe they make a deep playoff run, in which, they're a big part of it, especially when they get to the finals, especially the way that it all unfolded for Jimmy. Jimmy's not a top 10 player in the NBA. It's just, I can name more than 10 guys who I think are better. I think, I can name 10 guys who you're going to get a majority who believe they're better. LeBron, KD, Luka, Giannis, Kawhi, Steph, Harden, Davis, Anthony Davis, Dame, the Joker. I think you got to, honestly, Klay Thompson to me is better because of how elite he is on both ends. Jimmy's really good defensively as well, but I think Klay, I think, you got to consider Devin Booker and Jason Tatum. I think you got to consider Russell Westbrook. I don't know if I would take Russell over Jimmy, but either way, Jimmy's outstanding. But there's one other guy who's better than Jimmy, who I think if you were to ask most GMs, if given a chance to build a roster, would take this guy over Jimmy. And that's his teammate, Bam Adebayo. Like Jimmy, Bam is elite defensively. His athleticism is unreal. He can distribute the ball. He's a better, Bam 6'9". He's, more considered a big man than a ball handler, but he's a better ball handler and distributor than Jimmy. He can guard 1 through 5. The one thing that Bam doesn't do, and Jimmy really doesn't do it that well either, and that's shoot the 3. Now, Jimmy will do it. He just doesn't do it well. Bam just really doesn't do it. He's not a guy who takes a lot of 3-point attempts. That's maybe the next step, but this is a guy who averages a double-double during the season and also averaged 5 assists. He's the he's the Nikola Jokic that we're not talking about. He's the Eastern Conference version of Jokic. He can do pretty much everything. He's one of the few players to average 15 points, 10 boards, 5 assists, 1 block, 1 steal. Not many people do. As far as his value and his ability, obviously Jimmy from an emotional standpoint so important to that team. But if you're just looking at the player, to me, Bam over Jimmy Butler, he is super impressive. And if you don't know, you're gonna know after this upcoming season. All right, the Cowboys play the Cardinals Monday night. I guess I could have waited until Monday's version of the High-5 to talk about this. I wanted to talk about it right now. Every time I see the Cardinals, think about the Cardinals, now I think about 2 things. One, I think about how awesome it is to watch Kyler Murray. To me, he's one of the most exciting players to watch in the NFL. 2, I think about Larry Fitzgerald. To me, Larry Fitzgerald is the best receiver of his era and one of the all-time greats. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. That's not in question. But unfortunately, no fault of Larry's, he lost some years in which he still had production, but lost some of his prime age years with guys like John Skelton throwing him the football. I think to Larry, think about Larry's career, and, I wonder what the numbers would have been if he didn't have to deal with some awful quarterback play, not even average quarterback play. We're talking awful quarterback play. And the numbers are still, like I said, remarkable. He's approaching 20,000 receiving yards, receptions and such. I mean, it's, the stats are going to put him up there with the all-time greats. But I just think that in an era, and most of the era in which he played, it was not as pass happy as it is now. He put up these remarkable numbers. And here's a stat about Larry that to me is just unbelievable. In Larry's career, and understand he's been targeted almost 2,300 times. He's got 29 career drops. That's remarkably low. What's more amazing is that Larry Fitzgerald over his career has more tackles than he does drops. 39 tackles, 29 drops. You want to talk about some sure hands? That's Larry Fitzgerald. He's not the guy in Arizona anymore. That's DeAndre Nuke Hopkins. But Larry Fitzgerald is going to be wearing a gold jacket, first ballot. And I just hope people can recognize, despite some of those down years, and they're not even down years. I mean, like his worst year was maybe 63 catches, 784 yards over 14 games. He's had, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 1,000-yard seasons in receiving. He's had multiple he's had 5 double-digit touchdown years. He's reached 100 receptions 5 different times. I mean, no one's upset about his numbers. They just could have been better. He is so dang good. All right, time now for our Friday 5. The other day, I asked, I said, what are the other great player sports debates, and greats, maybe a different word. You can substitute that depending on if you hate these. For me, I love sports. A part of sports or debates, to me, it's like food. You can love a food, but maybe you can just get tired of it. You don't want pizza every single night. That's kind of how I feel with the LeBron MJ debates. I think the debates, these sorts of debates are fun. I do think they get a little tired. Here are the 5 debates that I would love to maybe really focus on, and try and have a reasonable conversation with people about who is better. Just because I think exploring the greatness of these individual matchups that I'm about to present would be really, really exciting. So I'll go 5-1. Number 5 on the pitch, Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo. I lean Messi. I'm open to the Ronaldo camp, but it would be great to hear that. Or maybe if you're, if it's without question Messi over Ronaldo, Messi and Pele, maybe going back in time. Number 4, Nadal, Federer. I wonder, and Djokovic as well. I guess let's throw the Joker in there, because as the Joker keeps playing, he very well might, break some of Federer's records. I wonder if Nadal still got the gas in the tank. He did just win the French over Joker. But comparing those 3, I mean, what an amazing era of tennis with those 3 kind of weaving in and out of being 1, 2, and 3 in the world. On the diamond, number 3, Mike Trout and either Willie Mays or Mickey Mantle. That to me is, I think that Mike Trout's got a chance to go down as the greatest player of all time. But there's some other greats, Babe Ruth, and how do you weigh the difference between the hitters and the pitchers and whatnot? But you hear a lot of people compare Trout and Mantle. I never saw Mantle. You hear some people mention Willie Mays. I never saw Mays. Would love to have more of an understanding of that juxtaposition. Number 2, Jack and Tiger. What could have been with Tiger, what would have been if it weren't for the injuries and such. And then number 1, I don't know that these are the 2 greatest players in their sport necessarily. I think a lot of people believe one is, but I think they're the 2 best quarterbacks of their era, and that's Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers. One was just the ultimate winner, even though maybe he didn't demonstrate the same level of talent, but the other is, from a talent standpoint, from a skill standpoint, is as good as anyone has ever seen. And Aaron Rodgers, he's not considered the winner Tom Brady is, because his teams would lose playoff games in which the Packers would score 30 plus points. But in overtime, the defense was so bad they didn't allow Aaron Rodgers the chance to even get the ball. So it's not like Aaron Rodgers has a catalog of duds that have led to playoff losses. Peyton Manning, when he had the rap of not being able to win the big one, he was performing below par, if you will. Or I guess in golf, it's good to be below par, above par in that sense in the postseason. Aaron Rodgers really hasn't had that. He's had games which he's been great, but his defense or special teams has let him down. I really believe, listen, with the way it's played out, it's tough to argue that anyone's better than Brady. But I still believe that if Rodgers had the teams Brady had, if their paths were switched and Rodgers was the quarterback of the Patriots, that Aaron Rodgers would have the same titles that Tom Brady has. I just think from a skill standpoint, I've never seen anyone better than Aaron Rodgers, but Brady Rodgers, definitely a great debate. No doubting what Tom Brady's been able to accomplish. So there you go. That's our high 5, including our Friday 5. Again, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, going to be bringing you our high 5. On Wednesdays, we do our NFL top 5. And then Monday, we'll definitely do a recap of the NFL weekend. Of course, the Cowboys this week play on Monday night, so we'll change the schedule for the upcoming week. Thanks so much for hanging out. Feel free to subscribe, like, comment, or share. Would really appreciate it. We'll talk to you later.